Folks, and welcome back to IPT2. So, with this week's podcast, we are looking to cover complaints, and typically these can come in many different forms and via different avenues. What we're going to look at today is those different avenues. So, if you're a PT and you get complaints, if you're working on the gym floor and you're getting complaints, and how to deal with different types of complaints that come in as well. So, hopefully, this will be an interesting one for you guys who maybe have had complaints in the past and it's not went the way you wanted it to, but also just so you have an idea of what to do when a complaint comes in. So, first of all, we have to look at the typical complaints that are going to happen. So, first of all, let's take a personal trainer. A personal trainer will usually get complaints in the form of a verbal complaint or typically a text message or email when, say, a client doesn't want to be confrontational. So, verbal complaints will usually be things like, I don't want to do that exercise, I don't like doing that exercise. Uh, you also might get complaints about maybe kit being dirty or something not working quite the way it should. How you handle these is going to be part of your service, to be honest. So, what do you say? Well, in the past, when I've had clients who didn't want to do exercises, we look for alternatives, first of all. It might be that that is just not an exercise for that person, but depending on how beneficial it might be for the person and depending on the situation, i.e., they might just be being a bit stubborn, we can look to circumvent that person's disagreement with that exercise. So let's take a squat. A client doesn't want to do squats and they say they don't like them because it doesn't feel nice doing them. Now, if you've ever done a squat before, especially with a decent amount of weight, squats don't feel that great. They work the muscles, of course, but they don't feel that great. They are always going to be a hard exercise to do. So, what do? Well, have you ever been taught to squat properly? Has anybody looked at your squat before? Do you mind if I take a look at your squat just with body weight, without any bars or anything like that, so I can see if you can squat properly? We look to see if there's a solution to the person's problem. Typically, if somebody's complaining about an exercise, they either don't feel that they can do it properly or that they find it difficult and don't want to do it. And a lot of the time it is the latter, they don't want to do it. Uh, and with that form not being correct, typically that will cause them to have the issue. So if we can correct the form, we can actually make it an enjoyable exercise again. And obviously, there's many benefits to being able to squat, and pretty much everybody should be doing that exercise in a form of one or another. So take the complaint, listen to what your client's saying, figure out if it is a case of you need to ditch that exercise. But if it is an important exercise, especially to the person's goals and what they want to achieve, it may be worth trying to go round that complaint and see what you can do to support your client rather than just saying, okay, we'll just go do a leg press. We know the leg press is beneficial too, but the squat is more so because of more muscles getting activated. So that would be the first kind of complaint you get. Verbally, if something's broken and you have to get an alternative, that's absolutely fine. The only time that might get worse is if it's the client's favourite exercise and the equipment was to keep on breaking. Then you would need to try find them a new favourite exercise that works the same way. And the cleanliness of a gym, that is another concern for clients. Again, you can help this by maybe carrying some wet wipes. Some gyms will have wet wipe stations. Some gyms have stations for cleaning things. So always just try to keep on top of that with the client. If they spot something that you haven't during the day, then it is part of your service. It takes 2 seconds to clean something, and to be honest, it will make the client feel better and want to rave about you even more. So don't see it as a downgrade of any sorts that you have to go and clean something, and don't go get somebody else. Just clean it on the spot for the client. That way it's done, it's dusted, literally in some cases, and you can move on with the session. Now, as a PT, you also will have other types of complaints, and the more serious ones will be the ones that you get via text message and via emails. Typically, clients won't want to phone you or speak to you in person about these types of complaints, and it's usually to do with the service you offer or them trying to cancel. Now, you should, if you've set your business up properly, have a cancellation policy. Uh, what it is they do to stop their sessions, or what the process is for leaving you. And it shouldn't be a bad thing. It shouldn't be an experience where it feels like a complaint or it feels like it's something bad is happening. Clients leave for all sorts of reasons, but if you are getting a complaint about your service, it's something that you really need to take into consideration. Why is the client leaving? So no matter why a client's leaving your service, you should really be digging into the detail of that. Oh, I'm going on holiday, so I can't afford it. Well, why couldn't they afford it? I know a holiday can be a big expense, but have you not put something in place that can help your clients while they are on holiday? Maybe a freeze, because if that person goes away and comes back from the holiday, they might not restart their service. So do you have a freeze in your service that you can restart it later? We need to dig into details. We need to find out the root causes of why clients leave us or why we're getting the complaint in the first place. Sometimes complaints will be outside of your ability to help, i.e., if the equipment keeps breaking all the time, as we spoke about, that might be something that causes the client concern and they want to leave, and that could just be the quality of the gym that you work at. That's not really something you can do anything about. And again, I would be speaking to the line manager about that kind of thing if that was the case. Now, say you do get a complaint about your service. This is something to take really seriously. Typically, what will happen a lot of the time will be that when a client is doing personal training, they will maybe see a lot more things about personal training on their Instagrams or social medias, and that can make it look like the grass is greener on the other side. What I mean by that is that they will see the services that other people are punting, other people are saying it's going to cost this price, and they will be like, well, I can get my training cheaper. Now, a lot of the time when you're getting a complaint, the person wants to be heard and then wants a solution. And if you can't offer a solution, then that person will ultimately leave. There are different things you can do. If you have scope, you might want to offer them a discount on their next block. Be like, I can't give you the price you're asking for, but I can give you a discount on your next block, but it will only be the next block. That'll keep them in your service, and then you can show them how good you are and why they are paying the extra money. And when you look at other types of complaints you might get, maybe there's something in your service that you're not giving to clients and other people are getting it from another service provider or another PT, that is something you could maybe look at and maybe add into your service. Overall, you should really be looking at what you provide your clients and then making a decision on, is it good enough? Are you ticking all the boxes? Are you doing too much? There's lots of factors to this, and again, your service should be priced in the kind of market that you're in. Remember, if you're in London and if you're in, say, Leeds, there's going to be different prices for personal training in those different cities. London's obviously going to be more expensive. There's higher pay grades down there, but there's also higher overheads. So prices for personal training will be typically higher. And then obviously have different models as well for your clients. Don't just have one option, have many options, but not too many. I always said that 3 options would be a good place for somebody to pick from the services they want. If you start to go into this package and this package and this package, the client will just get confused and ultimately pick the cheapest thing and not get the money's worth and then ultimately leave. So take that complaint, look at your service, see if there is something you can do for the client, but then maybe add it in for everybody. Really listening, it's an opportunity to see where your business is at and improve it. Maybe it's not viable though, and it just has to be explained in the right manner. You need to remember when you're drafting up your reply to somebody that it shouldn't just be a generic reply. It should really be personal to that person. And I know a lot of PTs, they use Chat GPT to maybe get those kind of replies, but it does sound robotic. Typing something up yourself will always be a better option. And really highlight the concern of the client. Tell them what solution you have for it. Ask them if that would be okay, and then maybe ask to speak in person. And that hopefully will mean that complaint will turn into a positive. Now, if you've ever had any complaints as a personal trainer and you want to discuss these more, or what kind of solutions you could have had for it, then just drop us a comment or drop us a message on one of our social medias and we'll get back to you on that as well. Okay, so that's the PT perspective. What should we really do from a PT standpoint? And that insight should be helpful to the rest of what you do. The other part of it is when you're working shifts in a gym as a fitness coach or an instructor, or even just working in a gym in general, because as a personal trainer, sometimes you will get the complaints. Now, a lot of the time when people are complaining in a gym, they want a solution, but they also just want to be heard. Sometimes complaints are just there so somebody can complain. It's getting something off their chest, and all they want to do is be heard. So first of all, we need to determine, is it a case of they just want to be heard? And if it is that case, then okay, let's listen to the complaint. Let's tell them that we've taken it on board. Let's tell the person that we will try to make sure this doesn't happen again, and try to bring them on board to your team and explain that you are looking out for their concerns and you do want to help them have a good experience in the gym. Make them heard and they will go away satisfied. Now, if there is a real complaint and something is done, action it. The worst thing you can do is tell somebody that you are going to go and see to that and then you don't go and see to it. It could be that something's broken, it could be a toilet's clogged, it could be something's ran out somewhere, it could be that one of the services isn't working the way it should. Tell them what you're going to do, tell them how quickly you're going to action it. If it's something that can't be actioned then and there, explain the situation. Tell them a time frame, roughly a time frame. You won't always know one. And if you don't really know about what's happened, say it's a broken piece of equipment, and you don't know the time frames and stuff like that, it's okay to tell them that the manager will know more about it. I can get them for you if you'd like. Don't be afraid to use your other colleagues to help with complaints. That's actually a good thing a lot of the time and can diffuse situations, especially when somebody knows that somebody above your level is now coming to deal with their complaint. It will put them at ease a lot of the time, or in some cases get them to calm down about a situation. So that is something to remember when dealing with complaints. Listen to the person, take the complaint on board, give them some kind of time frame. I like to, especially if it's a piece of equipment that's down, give them an option. What kind of thing could they do instead? And make sure that they feel good about the situation. Now, a lot of the time with complaints, you aren't always going to get the best outcomes. Let's be fair. Some people will complain and they will leave the gym, they will leave your service. It's part and parcel of dealing with complaints. But if we can turn that complaint into somebody who understands us as well, and we can meet in the middle, then a lot of the time that person will get on better with us in the future. And if they have a complaint, they might be less aggressive or less likely to make it a bigger deal than it is. So these are really important conversations to have. And also it makes you a very good go-to person. And if you're the go-to person in a gym, and I don't mean for complaints, if you become a go-to person in the gym and you get things done and people hear that you can help them, they're likely to come and speak to you more, and that could lead to more clients. These are things that maybe don't always pop into your mind when you're dealing with something like a complaint. But if you can deal with the situation properly, deal with it professionally, and make them feel good at the outcome, that's definitely something that they'll keep in their mind, especially if they've ever considered personal training, or if somebody asks them, they can talk about the good experience they had with you. I would speak to that guy or girl because they dealt with my complaint brilliantly. It was awesome. Like, I felt really good afterwards. Speak to them because I'm sure they do personal training too. And I've heard people talk that way in the past in gyms as well. And really, that's the best outcome you can hope for if you're dealing with complaints. Try to remember, if you're dealing with any complaints via email, that again, we want to be professional. So try have a professional signature on your email. Try to speak professionally throughout. Don't be too technical, but at the same time, don't be too cold. I know some of these might feel a little bit contradictory, but it's that personality you put into your replies that people will appreciate, especially when you have to deal with something that's maybe important to your business. When it does come to complaints and you don't know how to reply to them, we will be here to help. So like we said before, please do come to us. But again, a lot of complaints can be dealt with using a little bit of common sense. So on that bombshell, that's where we're going to end this week. Do remember to grab us on Spotify, like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I hope you guys have enjoyed this little podcast, and we will see you very soon. Take care, guys.